Rodolfo Alfonso Raffaello Pier Filiberto Guglielmi di Valentina d'Antongola, professionally known as Rudolph Valentino, was an Italian-born American actor who starred in several well-known silent films including The Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, The Sheik, Blood and Sand, The Eagle, and The Son of the Sheik. An early pop icon, a sex symbol of the 1920s, he was known as the Latin lover, or simply as Valentino. He had applied for American citizenship shortly before his death, which occurred at age 31, causing mass hysteria among his female fans and further propelling him into iconic status. Early life. Childhood. Valentino was born Rodolfo Alfonso Raffaello Pier Filiberto Guglielmi di Valentina d'Antongola in Castellaneta, Apulia, Kingdom of Italy. His mother, Marie Berta Gabrielle, was French, born in Lure in Franche-Comté. His father, Giovanni Antonio Giuseppe Fedele Guglielmi di Valentina d'Antongola, was Italian. He was a veterinarian who died of malaria when Valentino was 11. He had an older brother, Alberto, a younger sister, Maria, and an older sister, Beatrice, who had died in infancy. As a child, Valentino was reportedly spoiled and troublesome. His mother coddled him, while his father disapproved of him. He did poorly in school and was eventually enrolled in agricultural school at Genoa, where he earned a degree. After living in Paris in 1912, he soon returned to Italy. Unable to secure employment, he departed for the United States in 1913. He was processed at Ellis Island at age 18 on December 23, 1913. New York. Arriving in New York City, Valentino soon ran out of money and spent time on the streets. He supported himself with odd jobs such as bussing tables in restaurants and gardening. Eventually, he found work as a taxi dancer at Maxim's. Among the other dancers at Maxim's were several displaced members of European nobility, and there was a premium demand for them. Valentino eventually befriended Chilean heiress Blanca de Souls, who was unhappily married to prominent businessman John de Souls, with whom she had a son. Whether Blanca and Valentino actually had a romantic relationship is unknown, but whether de Souls' couple divorced. Valentino took the stand to support Blanca de Souls' claims of infidelity on her husband's part. Following the divorce, John de Souls reportedly used his political connections to have Valentino arrested, along with a Mrs. Time, a known madam, on some unspecified vice charges. The evidence was flimsy at best, and after a few days in jail, Valentino's bail was lowered from $10,000 to $1,500. The trial and subsequent scandal was well publicized, following which Valentino could not find employment. Shortly after the trial, Blanca de Souls fatally shot her ex-husband during a custody dispute over their son. Fearful of being called in as a witness in another sensational trial, Valentino left town, joining a traveling musical that led him to the West Coast. Film career. Life before fame. In 1917, Valentino joined an operetta company that traveled to Utah, where it disbanded. He then joined an Al Jolson production of Robinson Crusoe Jr., traveling to Los Angeles. By fall, he was in San Francisco with a bit part in a theatrical production of Nobody Home. While in town, Valentino met actor Norman Kerry, who convinced him to try a career in cinema, which was still in the silent film era. Valentino, with Kerry as a roommate, moved back to Los Angeles and took up residence at the Alexandria Hotel. He continued dancing, teaching dance, and building up a following which included older female clientele who would let him borrow their luxury cars. At one point after the United States joined World War I, both Kerry and Valentino tried to get into the Canadian Air Force to fly and fight in France. With his dancing success, Valentino found a room of his own on Sunset Boulevard and began actively seeking screen roles. His first part was as an extra in the film Alimony, moving on to small parts in several films. Despite his best efforts, he was typically cast as a heavy, or gangster. At the time, the major male star was Wallace Reed, with a fair complexion, light eyes, and an all-American look, with Valentino the opposite, eventually supplanting Sessue Hayakawa as Hollywood's most popular, exotic, male lead. By 1919, he had carved out a career in bit parts. It was a bit part as a cabaret parasite in the drama Eyes of Youth that caught the attention of screenwriter June Mathis, who thought he would be perfect for her next movie. He also appeared as second lead in The Delicious Little Devil with star Mae Murray. Acting displeased with playing heavies, Valentino briefly entertained the idea of returning to New York permanently. He returned for a visit in 1917, staying with friends in Greenwich Village, eventually settling in Bayside, Queens. It was here that he met Paul Ivano, who would greatly help his career. While traveling to Palm Springs, Florida, to film Stolen Moments, Valentino read the novel The Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse by Vicente Blasco Ibanez. Seeking out a trade paper, he discovered that Metro had bought the film rights to the story. In New York, he sought out Metro's office, only to find June Mathis had been trying to find him. She cast him in the role of Julio Desnoyers. For director, Mathis had chosen Rex Ingram, with whom Valentino did not get along, leading Mathis to play the role of peacekeeper between the two. The Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse was released in 1921, becoming a commercial and critical success. It was one of the first films to make $1 million at the box office. It is to this day the sixth highest-grossing silent film ever. Metro Pictures seemed unwilling to acknowledge that it had made a star, most likely due to Rex Ingram's lack of faith in him. The studio refused to give him a raise beyond the $350 a week he had made for Four Horsemen. For his follow-up film, they forced him into a bit part in a B film called Uncharted Seas. It was on this film that Valentino met his second wife, Natasha Rambova. Mathis, Ivano, and Valentino began work on the Alan Nasimova film Camille. Valentino was cast in the role of Armand, Natsimova's love interest. The film, mostly under the control of Rambova and Natsimova, was considered too avant-garde by critics and the public. Valentino's final film for Metro was the Mathis-penned The Conquering Power. The film received critical acclaim and did well at the box office. After the film's release, Valentino made a trip to New York where he met with several French producers. Yearning for Europe, better pay, and more respect, Valentino returned and promptly quit Metro. The Sheikh. After quitting Metro, Valentino took up with famous players Lasky, a studio known for films that were more commercially focused. Mathis soon joined him, angering both Ivano and Rambova. Jesse Lasky intended to capitalize on the star power of Valentino, and cast him in a role that would solidify his reputation as the Latin lover. In The Sheikh, Valentino played the starring role of Sheikh Ahmed Ben Hassan. The film was a major success and would go on to define not only his career but his image and legacy. Valentino tried to distance the character from a stereotypical portrayal of an Arab man. Asked if Lady Diana would have fallen for a savage in real life, Valentino replied, "People are not savages because they have dark skins. The Arabian civilization is one of the oldest in the world. The Arabs are dignified and keen-brained." Famous players produced 4 more feature-length films over the next 15 months. His leading role in Moran of the Lady Letty was of a typical Douglas Fairbanks nature, however, to capitalize on Valentino's bankability, and his character was given a Spanish name and ancestry. The film received mixed reviews but was still a hit with audiences. In November 1921, Valentino starred alongside Gloria Swanson in Beyond the Rocks. The film contained lavish sets and extravagant costumes, though Photoplay magazine said the film was a little unreal and hectic. Released in 1922, the film was a critical disappointment. Years after its release, Beyond the Rocks was thought to be lost, save for a 1-minute portion. In 2002, the film was discovered by the Netherlands Film Museum. The restored version was released on DVD in 2006. In 1922, Valentino began work on another Mathis-penned film, Blood and Sand. Co-starring Leela Lee and Nita Naldi, Valentino played the lead, bullfighter Juan Gallardo. Initially believing the film would be shot in Spain, Valentino was upset to learn that the studio planned on shooting on a Hollywood backlot. He was further irritated by changes in production, including a director of whom he did not approve. After finishing the film, Valentino married Ram Bova, which led to a bigamy trial. The trial was a sensation and the pair was forced to have their marriage annulled and separated for a year. Despite the trial, the film was still a success, with critics calling it a masterpiece on par with Broken Blossoms and Four Horsemen. Blood and Sand went on to become one of the top 4 grossing movies of 1922, breaking attendance records and grossing $37,400 at the Rivoli Theatre alone. Valentino would consider this one of his best films. During his forced break from Rambova, the pair began working on the Mathis-penned The Young Raja. Only fragments of this film, recovered in 2005, still remain. The film did not live up to expectations and underperformed at the box office. Valentino felt he had underperformed in the film, being upset over his separation with Rambova. Missing Rambova, Valentino returned to New York after the release of The Young Raja. They were spotted and followed by reporters constantly. During this time, Valentino began to contemplate not returning to Famous Players, although Jesse Lasky already had his next picture, The Spanish Cavalier, in preparation. After speaking with Rambova and his lawyer Arthur Butler Graham, Valentino declared a one-man strike against Famous Players. Strike against Famous Players. Valentino's reasons for striking were financially based. At the time of his lawsuit against the studio, Valentino was earning $1,250 per week, with an increase to $3,000 after 3 years. This was $7,000 per week less than Mary Pickford made in 1916. He was also upset over the broken promise of filming Blood and Sand in Spain, and the failure to shoot the next proposed film in either Spain or at least New York. Valentino had hoped while filming in Europe he could see his family, whom he hadn't seen in 10 years. In September 1922, he refused to accept paychecks from Famous Players until the dispute was solved, although he owed them money he had spent to pay off Jean Acker. Angered, Famous Players in turn filed suit against him. Valentino did not back down, and Famous Players realized how much they stood to lose. In trouble after shelving Roscoe Arbuckle Pictures, the studio tried to settle by upping his salary from $1,250 to $7,000 a week. Variety, erroneously, announced the salary increase as a new contract, before news of the lawsuit was released. Valentino refused the offer. Valentino went on to claim that artistic control was more of an issue than the money. He wrote an open letter to Photoplay magazine, titled Open Letter to the American Public, where he argued his case. Although the average American had trouble sympathizing, as most made $2,000 a year, Famous Players made their own public statements deeming him more trouble than he was worth and that he was temperamental, almost diva-like. They claimed to have done all they could and that they had made him a real star. Other studios began courting him. Joseph Schenck was interested in casting his wife, Norma Talmadge, opposite Valentino in a version of Romeo and Juliet. June Mathis had moved to Goldwyn Pictures where she was in charge of the Ben-Hur project, and interested in casting Valentino in the film. However, Famous Players exercised its option to extend his contract, preventing him from accepting any employment other than with the studio. By this point Valentino was around $80,000 in debt. Valentino filed an appeal, a portion of which was granted. Although he was still not allowed to work as an actor, he could accept other types of employment. Mineral Lava Dance Tour. In late 1922, Valentino met George Ullman, who would soon become Valentino's manager. Ullman previously had worked with Mineral Lava Beauty Clay Company, and convinced them that Valentino would be perfect as a spokesman with his legions of female fans. The tour was a tremendous success, with Valentino and Rambova performing in 88 cities in the United States and Canada. In addition to the tour, Valentino also sponsored Mineral Lava beauty products and judged Mineral Lava-sponsored beauty contests. One beauty contest was filmed by a young David O. Selznick titled Rudolph Valentino and His 88 Beauties. Return to films. When Valentino returned to the United States, it was to an offer from Ritz-Carlton Pictures, which included $7,500 a week, creative control, and filming in New York. Rambova negotiated a 2-picture deal with Famous Players and 4 pictures for Ritz-Carlton. He accepted, turning down an offer to film an Italian production of Quo Vadis in Italy. The first film under the new contract was Monsieur Beaucaire, wherein Valentino played the lead, Duke of Chartres. The film did poorly and American audiences found it effeminate. The failure of the film, under Rambova's control, is often seen as proof of her controlling nature and would later cause her to be barred from Valentino's sets. Valentino made one final movie for Famous Players. In 1924 he starred in A Scented Devil, now one of his lost films. It had lavish costumes but apparently a weak story. It opened to strong sales but soon dropped off in attendance and ended up as another disappointment. With his contract fulfilled, Valentino was released from Famous Players but still obligated to Ritz-Carlton for 4 films. Valentino's next film was a pet project titled The Hooded Falcon. The production was beset with problems from the start, beginning with the script written by June Mathis. The Valentinos were dissatisfied with this version and requested that it be rewritten. Mathis took it as a great insult and did not speak to Valentino for almost 2 years. While Rambova worked designing costumes and rewriting the script for Falcon, Valentino was persuaded to film Cobra with Nita Naldi. Valentino agreed only on condition that it not be released until after The Hooded Falcon debuted. After filming Cobra, the cast of The Hooded Falcon sailed for France to be fitted for costumes. After 3 months, they returned to the United States, where Valentino's new beard, which he had grown for the film, caused a sensation. "I opened once a paper and I tell you what was in. It was Rudolph Valentino with a beard upon his chin. My heart stopped off from beating and I fainted dead away, and I never want to come to life until the Judgment Day," was soon printed in Photoplay. The cast and crew left for Hollywood to begin preparations for the film, but much of the budget was taken up during pre-production. Due to the Valentinos' lavish spending on costumes and sets, Ritz-Carlton terminated the deal with the couple, effectively ending Valentino's contract with Ritz-Carlton. United Artists. During the filming of Monsieur Beaucaire, both Charlie Chaplin and Douglas Fairbanks approached Valentino privately, due to his contract with Ritz-Carlton, about joining with United Artists. Valentino's contract with United Artists provided $10,000 a week for only 3 pictures a year, plus a percentage of his films. The contract excluded Rambova from production of his films and the film set. Valentino's acceptance of the terms caused a major rift in his marriage to Rambova. George Ullman, who had negotiated the contract with United Artists, offered Rambova $30,000 to finance a film of her own. It became her one and only film, titled What Price Beauty, and starred Myrna Loy. Valentino chose his first UA project, The Eagle. With the marriage under strain, Valentino began shooting and Rambova announced that she needed a marital vacation. During the filming of The Eagle, rumors of an affair with co-star Vilma Banchi were reported and ultimately denied by both Banchi and Valentino. The film opened to positive reviews, but a moderate box office. For the film's release, Valentino traveled to London, staying there and in France, spending money with abandon while his divorce took place. It would be some time before he made another film, The Son of the Sheikh. Despite his hatred of the Sheikh image, the film began shooting in February 1926, with Valentino given his choice of director, and pairing him again with Vilma Banchi. The film used the authentic costumes he bought abroad and allowed him to play a dual role. Valentino was ill during production, but needed the money to pay his many debts. The film opened on July 8, 1926 to great fanfare. During the premiere, Valentino was reconciled with Mathis. The two had not spoken in almost 2 years.